What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Second Avenue Podcast. I'm your host, Jonathan Aris.
I'm your other host, Elijah Venencia. If you're watching this on YouTube or if you're listening, I'm sure you could tell the difference as well. This is our first live recorded episode. 2 years. We figured let's knock it out. So, we're here in person. If you look to the left of Jonathan, we got a special guest here.
Hi, I'm
Alex,
Alex.
Chalky, yeah.
Yeah, either one. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's going to be tough to get used to, but, we'd have to check on how you're trying to present yourself here.
No, I guess Alex then.
Okay.
I'm a coach. Yeah.
Probably Chalky, but yeah.
So then why
But for
This
the
is
people,
Alex,
for the new
sure.
people, had to do something. Thank you to everybody that was showing love for our 2-year anniversary. Of course, we did our Aux battles, fan favorite for the 2-year anniversary. This is the first time we get to talk about this in person, but man, I took this first Aux battle of season 2. I think it ended up being 4-2 with one tie. So you guys showed out with the votes, tied on one. That was crazy. Other than that, it went pretty good in my favor.
Yeah, the last Ox, or the first season, I guess we'll call it now. Just the very first Ox battle we did. I lost, or no, I won. I think I didn't blow him out.
I think you blew me out.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
so history's gonna repeat itself here. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. I think I learned from my mistake. The only time I ever been blown out on a category was that first Ox battle when it was song by a female rapper. I went with the Tierra Wax song. You went with Bodak Yellow, and it was just
I didn't. I went with Ooh.
Ooh by Young M.A. Okay. Same thing. All right, let's take a look at the results. The first category was a collab with a non-rapper. I went Homecoming by Kanye. You went E.T. by Katy Perry. I won that one 78-22.
I gotta show Katy Perry some love. I thought that was a good pick.
I thought that was a bad pick. And the category
y'all weren't at the skating rink, fucking.
I guess
that was the one.
But the category on the episode was song with a non-rap feature in the
well,
song
yeah,
has
but
a
I
Kanye
went
feature.
opposite.
So I had to change the category to accommodate you, so you did not deserve to win that one. Anyway,
the idea of it though was it was Linkin Park, Jay-Z, their collab. So Linkin Park, that was what I had in mind. So.
Okay, sure. The next category was a song with a diamond certification, and you went Trap Queen by Fetty Wap. I went Starboy. You won that one 70-30. That was a pretty big wipe there. I didn't think it was gonna go like that, but you guys got love for Fetty Wap, so that's pretty fire. Free Fetty. The next category was a 2014 song. I went Diablo by Mac Miller. You went Only by Nicki Minaj, Chris Brown, Drake, and Lil Wayne. I won that one 58-42. Next category was a song to pick up a girl playing. And I went Sundress A$AP Rocky. You went Heartless by The Weeknd in Your Toxic Bag. And I won that one 57-43. Next category, we got a Cry in the Car song. I went Ivy by Frank Ocean. You went Star Shopping by Lil Peep. I won that one 82-18.
That was crazy.
That was a big one. Yeah, he was talking a lot of how much hopes and loves. Star Shopping.
That made me realize, everybody else fell off.
Everybody grew up to Frank Ocean.
Yeah.
This is the category we tied. It was song with a white album cover. You went End of the Road by Juice WRLD. I went Clouded by Brent Faiyaz. I really did see that one being pretty even. That could have went either way. And
that's Juice had fucking crazy love back in the day. So see, y'all just fell off on emo rap, I guess.
I guess so. And then the final category was an outro song. You went Cuddy Montage. I went Tony Hawk by V's, and you won that one 60-40. So again, appreciate everybody showing love. We'll have to bring back an Aux battle in the near future. It was a pretty big gap between this Aux battle and the last one, so we promise it won't be as long this time around. I actually had an idea. I want to do one with a shot clock, basically. We get the category and we have a minute to pick a song. So that'll really test who has the strongest Aux game. So stay tuned for that. That'll be coming here in the near future. But yeah, I guess let's dive into the topic of today's episode. We got Alex Long with Chalks. You hear a mix of both on the episode, but obviously we go back high school, a lot of music listened to together, put each other onto a lot of different stuff over the years, and he's in town, so it felt right. We had to have him on episode. And as you see from the title, today is Album of the Month, For Your Eyez Only by J. Cole. An album, we haven't talked about in length too much, so I'm very excited to dive into this song by song.
I've made little comments here and there. If you've been listening, y'all know I fuck with this one a lot. But just to get on Chalky here a little bit more, or Alex, whatever we're calling him. I remember back in the day, Chalk used to have the crazy vinyl collection, and I think you posted a picture. I can't remember what the caption was. It was a cold ass caption But yeah, I mean
This is a
that,
Joey Badass quote with some lyric,
Ooh.
but
Yeah.
I don't remember exactly what it was. But yeah,
yeah, we'll pull it up later, but yeah, that kind of, and then obviously him being friends with Jonathan, Jonathan's a lot older than me, they're old heads, so
Yeah.
um
We put you on.
yeah, so I mean we send each other's songs back and forth nowadays, but yeah, back then I wasn't getting put on to much, so other
Yeah.
than vinyls, yeah, you kind of inspired the wall behind
oh
me.
you
That's fire. We got the post pulled up, picture of the vinyls, and the caption was, "We probably share a trait or two, but I can't see what I can't relate to." Jesus View, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
Shout out to Joey.
great album.
Great album, great track. So I'm glad that was a random pull. I like see
Yeah,
that's
no,
like
I
the thing,
don't
like
want to do that like on the intro, but shit, here we are. But let's get into J. Cole's best album. I'm gonna kick it off with that. His best album,
Wow.
and it's really not close to me anymore. What do I find myself going back to more as For Your Eyes Only? I think it's higher quality tracks. Of course, 2014 Forest Hill Drive, I mean, did its
that's the
thing.
one.
But I mean, at this point, like, what would I rather listen to? But it's definitely For Your Eyes Only.
That's kind of crazy. Let's take it back to 2016, December. Where were you at in life when the album
This is one I vividly remember dropping. And I was chilling in the basement. That's where my bedroom was. And I played it. I was like, okay, this is like different. It wasn't what I was expecting from like 2014. I still really hadn't developed too much of a crazy music taste yet or anything. But this is one. A few of the songs stuck, and then a couple years later, I'm really getting out all the tracks there. So
Tell us about life. Where were you at?
Oh,
2016, December.
yeah, we're at ISU. I don't know. It was my freshman year of college. Our freshman year of college. You stumped me. I don't know. That's about it.
I have a very specific memory. Like
I don't of this album.
I do.
Normally I would, but
I remember I was upstairs in my room. Shout out to my roommate Levi. And we were roommates for 2 years, but I feel like we were always on pretty different like schedules. He was type to get up early and go to the gym. I was staying up later, sleeping a little bit into the day. So it was just different. But I remember he was asleep and I was in our room playing Madden 17 when this dropped, listened to the album, played Madden Ultimate Team for a couple hours and probably listened to the album twice and then went to sleep because it is a shorter album. Just 10 tracks, 40 something minutes, right? So I definitely bumped it twice, played Madden, went to sleep. So very, very distinct memory to listen to this album for the first time. I was doing the same thing actually, maybe 2K when Logic everybody came out, but me playing games in the dorm room, listening to album for the first time, it's a very common occurrence.
yeah, I mean, I was just getting ready to go to driver's ed or whatever. So
Yeah. All right, let's get into the first track. This is a good one to go track by track, only 10 tracks. So, not too crazy. Not we're doing 20 songs or whatever. No Drake Scorpion. Let's get into the first track here. We got For Whom the Bell Tolls. How you boys feeling about this one?
so at the time I wasn't really rocking with it too crazy. It wasn't bad, but I wouldn't really go out of my way to listen to it. But I listening to it over these past few weeks, we've had this determined for about a month now. It's a pretty good intro track. I mean, it's not like great intro track, but I think it kind of sets the tone.
How you feeling?
my homework was a lot less than Jonathan and Elijah's, but it's kind of it was kind of sad, honestly. Really like a hopeless like vibe almost with that song. It was okay. Yeah, some like Elijah said, nothing I would go out of my way to listen to really.
I feel pretty
Pretty
different actually. I
Oh.
love this track. Like this was one of my favorites when it first came out. Obviously, if you know me and you think back to 2016, who was I rocking with? Champ the Rapper.
Okay.
And with Chance comes the social experiment, including Donnie Trumpet, as he was known then, now Nico Segal, who plays the trumpet on this track. So the biased guy in me was rocking with this track. Probably one of the heaviest out of all these tracks. I love the trumpet on it. Like you said, though, it does have it has a rainy, melancholy type vibe. I don't even know if I'm using that word right, but that's a word that just comes out. But yeah, I think it's a good track. It really sets a tone for the album we're about to get into. There's a lot of different sounds explored on the album, but I think this sets the tone well.
I think and I mean, just to close on that there, I think it's just such a more interesting album than 2014. It's just such a different, but you go in there me personally, at the time I'm banging fucking No Role Models, A Tale of Two Cities, Wet Dreams, apparently tracks like that. I'm kind of going to there with that expectation. And then this is just completely different.
The thing I will say on that is I think it's a more cohesive album. Like
Oh,
I
for sure.
obviously thematically we'll get into that. It makes more sense as an album, but I think 2014 is a better collection of songs.
Yeah, I mean, you got a lot more options there and everything. So I mean,
Yeah.
this album, I don't think it's not something you're gonna hear, out of parties and shit like that. So
No.
it's just different vibes. It's really it's hard to compare. So
Let's get into the next track. Here we got Immortal. This is a big change of pace, I feel like, from what we got on For Whom the Bell Tolls going into Immortal here. How you feeling about Immortal?
this one is like, oh, it almost doesn't fit on the out. Like it does, but it's like it kind of is a little bit an outlier. It's like it feels more J. Cole rap focused. Like he's going in there to spit, crazy pen game or whatever.
Mhm.
And I this was my favorite at the time. I will say, Immortal. That was getting crazy bump. Yeah, I mean, it just I don't. It just feels kind of out of place. Would be my only.
I could see that.
So yeah, like I said, I kind of did a quick research of this album. So I listened to it front to back, and I thought the transition from the first track to this was it really interesting because it was just such quite different vibes. The first one, like I said, it was almost rainy, kind of the sad vibe almost, and this it's like he had a light switch come on in his brain, and now he's saying screw that, and he's a lot more energetic and ready to like take the world.
Just getting
And
after
it like this, it's like high. It's like a roller coaster. Like like this is one of the high points, and there's a lot of lows
A
in
lot of
this.
lows, a lot of lows. Yeah, I think this is a good track. I will agree with you. It's probably one of my favorites. I think we'll get into later. I'll say what I think my favorite was in the time, but it's a good one. I really, once you get the whole understanding of the album, I think it gets better with a couple of lines. Like just getting ready for the episode, I was listening to the album a lot, and I kept hearing the line on the chorus where he says "forward with the plot 1745," and I was like, "What's that even mean?" Like it didn't mean anything to me at the time, but then when I looked into it at Genius, it says if you skip 17 minutes 45 seconds, it gets to the part where the character James, who is J. Cole's friend, who he's rapping from his perspective, it's the part where he dies on Change, which we'll get into later.
Oh, wow.
So that's a pretty unique,
I didn't know that.
good
So
line when you dig a little bit deeper behind the layers. Like sometimes I feel like the album, like the concept of this, I'll talk about later when I start to have like some questions about it, but like lines like that show there's so much thought behind it. The concept is very concise, it's very well done, but I do have some, some thoughts on it. The other line that stands out to me is the line towards the end of the track where he says, "Sell dope, rapper, go to the NBA." And that reminds me so much of the line on, I think it's January 28th, where he says, "Look around, not one hero in sight unless they dribble or fiddle with mics." Kind of the same thing, but again, I think that's one of those things where J. Cole is kind of just, he is a person that's looked at so much from people growing up. He is the one that fiddles with mics now. He was the one that wanted to go to the NBA.
Yeah,
And so he's just that, role model for these people that, don't always have a good role
I
model
have
in
no
sight.
role models.
No role models.
Definitely.
There you go. Let's get to the next track here. We got Deja Vu.
Okay, okay. So it was Immortal or Deja Vu that I was fucking with the most. Like the club jumping, that part that sounds like I literally thought it was Tupac for like the first year or whatever I was listening to. I still hadn't developed crazy music taste or anything like that. Looked too deep into it. So, but yeah, I love that part. Tupac. That's like that I guess would be my biggest takeaway. Great track. And then Tupac. That's like my parents were listening to that shit, so that was like a cool moment there. Obviously, it's not Tupac, but for a year, yeah. What?
Yeah, I think this is an interesting one. Obviously the lore behind it with the Bryson Tiller exchange beat Deja Vu because of, you've heard the beat before. I'm assuming is what the reasoning is on that. There might be something deeper, but that's, my interpretation of that. I never really got too much into Bryson Tiller, so even when this dropped, I was kind of just like, I didn't get it. I probably had heard Exchange. I, didn't listen to it though, so it was kind of whatever to me. But I think it's a good track. The line that stands out to me is I think towards the end, one of the second or third verses or something, because every saint got a past, every sinner got a future, every loser got to win someday. Which that's a cool line, whatever. But it really gives me the vibe of like take it back to 2013. You're scrolling through Facebook and people just post like the most just like bullshit fake quotes, like Lil Wayne being like, there's a sun behind the rainbow, like just some shit like
Yeah.
that. And
Don't
and just
great
like the
example.
white trash people just sharing the shit out of it.
Yeah.
That's kind of the vibe I get on this line. But it's J.
Mhm.
Cole, so I put some
It's
respect on it.
like every in group chats or whatever, always don't cry because it's over, smile because it happened. That's
Yeah,
the perfect thing. All right, you talk.
Yeah, this track probably landed somewhere in the middle for me in like likeness, I guess. It was okay. I thought it was interesting, and I didn't know that it was his highest charting song
I was gonna mention that.
until Middle Child, which isn't saying a lot but it did skip over a whole nother album plus the songs on this album as well, so it holds some ground.
Yeah, so Chalk, big KOD guy, so
Sneaky.
we'll have to bring him back if we ever get that on track.
I mean, I wouldn't say I'm a
we
big
will not.
KOD guy. I just don't hate it as much as everybody else, and I think there's some solid tracks on it. But
I think it's really tough to go from an album like this, like For Your Eyes Only, into KOD. It didn't.
It's tough.
Yeah.
And again, I guess there's some sort of concept behind KOD, you know what I mean? So he's always got something in mind, but yeah, I just feel like it wasn't what I really wanted. But yeah, talking about this being his highest charting song, like that is kind of crazy because it's definitely not the best track of the album, but I think what J. Cole does well is like the conscious lyrical rap, and like that's never going to be like a chart topper. So having this like as a more accessible track, it makes sense that it was the highest charting one, but
I think there were a few
it's more
tracks.
forgettable.
Yeah, I mean, Immortal, I think could have been a
Yeah.
little bit higher. I mean, it's a little more rap focused, like I said, and then Neighbors, we'll get in that one a little bit later, but
Neighbors is what I would think.
yeah,
But
I think the Deja Vu and Immortal, if I remember correctly, but like it seems, especially for that time, he's trying to like appeal a little more to kind of like to what was popular at that time a little bit. But
of course, the most poppin' one. He always got Tupac feature on J.
Yeah.
Cole album, so
the hologram, he
Yeah.
did that thing. Let's go to the next track here. We got Ville Mentality.
this one, okay, so this is one. It's like a more upbeat one, but like you hear, you start listening to what he's saying. Like it's pretty deep. Like
Yeah.
this is like where I feel like the album really takes that turn. Like Deja Vu, Immortal. They're nothing like too deep. I mean, obviously, if you look a little deeper into it, you have some lyrics that definitely are, but this kind of really resets the tone, I guess. And it's one I was not crazy on when it released, but as the years have gone by, my music taste buds have grown, and that is one I really fuck with now. So
Yeah, I think it's a good one. It has that very, very jazzy instrumental. I feel like you could just like take away the lyrics and you could hear this song like playing in a Target or something, like a coffee shop. It's a good track. It's smooth. I don't think it's one of my favorites, but it's good, obviously.
yeah, I mean, definitely, I don't want to get it as one of my favorites, but I am rocking with it a lot more than I was.
That's fair.
Man, at a certain point, I have to. It's hard for me. I'm not as big of a fan of J. Cole as these guys. Probably this album especially as well. But musically, like Jonathan said, I think it's great. I think there's some singing in this, or I don't know where you start getting to the J. Cole vocals, which I'm not much of a fan of. I mean, like he has the Ari Lennox feature and Change, and that was great.
That's
and
nice.
maybe we'll talk about that some later, I guess.
We'll definitely get into that one.
All right, let's get to the next track here. We got She's Mine Part 1. This is a pretty good track.
This is like a beautiful track. Like this is like this is one, once you hear it for the first time, it's like, okay, like and then if you hear it the second time, it hits a little bit harder. And like every time I hear this, it's like it's just great. And then so for rapping from the perspective of his friend James, you go deeper into it, and then as the album goes on, a little more upsetting.
This is the one where I get confused at the start of the perspective. Like from this one, it kind of feels like he's rapping from his own perspective at some point, because obviously not to be, oh, Genius knows all, but Genius is like, oh, it's a song about his wife, which I think it can kind of be both. Like for the context of the album, it can be from James's perspective, but I mean, J. Cole himself did put the song out, so there could be his own intention behind it being for his wife. But I think that's kind of like a weird line to draw. But I think going back to our last album of the month, because the internet kind of walked the same line, like, are you getting from Donald Glover's perspective, the boy's perspective? You don't always know. And so I kind of feel like that's tough to interpret here sometimes, tougher on some tracks than others. This being to me one of the ones where I'm like a little bit more in the gray area.
Yeah, I mean, it is always like you said with concept albums. It's tricky to dissect sometimes. The Catch Me won't. I love that part.
It's nice. Yeah, I think as much as I could have an issue with like the way I think that it
Yeah,
fits into the concept, I think it's a great song. It sounds very nice, but yeah, the execution, I'm just like a little bit iffy on, but I think it's a good track.
For me, this unfortunately landed in more at the bottom of my list for tracks. I can definitely appreciate the sentiment, like the reason behind the song and whatnot. It's just overall, I think musically and lyrically, it was just as more of a less bias, or maybe that's not even the right word. I haven't listened to the album for a while, and just going into it and re-listening, it was a harder track to listen to, honestly.
Okay.
Um,
get the fuck out.
Yeah. No, that's why we have you for the perspective.
Yeah.
It's just somebody
yeah,
different here for
you know how
once.
I am.
You hear me and Elijah every week, so you know how it goes. But yeah, good to get his thoughts like that. Next track here, we got Change. I'll let you kick it off here, Elijah. What do you got?
This is J. Cole's best track. I've said that on the podcast before.
Yeah,
I don't know when, or I don't have an exact timestamp there, but
And you're saying ever?
yeah, this is his best song. It's not gonna be the most popular song, of course, but man, like fucking listening to this track, it's so fucking good. Like the flow, he has a little flow switch at the end there. The little outro, I love that part as well. And I mean, I feel like this is really like the album here. Like if you were to choose one song that kind of encompassed everything from it, that kind of would be it for me, at least.
Yeah, to be, I mean, it's not his best track. It is in the top tier, but it's not number one. I think it's a very good track. I think it also shows what J. Cole does best. I think him being relatable, him giving his perspective conscious, that's what makes J. Cole J. Cole. And I think he does it on this track as well as any track he has for the most part. There's just a couple that I prefer over it, which, a little foreshadowing. We'll get into that with my boy AJ. I feel bad having, Chalky here for this episode when AJ is the J. Cole guy, but we'll get him for the best J. Cole songs bracket in the near future.
Yeah,
Coming soon. Wait on the fall off.
Yeah.
That one's coming. We promised that. So anyway, I was actually watching the For Your Eyez Only video documentary thing on YouTube, and it shows a lot of him like connecting with just like people in Ferguson, Missouri and Louisiana and just like different areas of the country where things aren't as good and there were racial tensions and things happening, and him giving his perspective on this track and then like seeing him actually go out there and like talk to people that they're just normal people, and he himself kind of just comes off as a normal person. It was just great to see.
Powerful.
Powerful, interesting.
Putting his
Cool.
money where his mouth is, so to
Yeah.
speak. Yeah, for this track definitely landed top 3 for me. Maybe my favorite, Elijah, maybe with his
little
marketing
influence, yeah.
influence. But yeah, overall great track. The Ari Lennox feature, like I mentioned, was terrific. And yeah, the whole concept behind the change, or the name of the song, and kind of what he's talking about is, I think it was the song where I was reading where he felt like he had to get out of where did he live? Fayetteville,
Yeah.
and go to New York City to like make change and like become better. But he realized it was only about his mentality. And I think that was just just a great concept for a song, and very energetic.
And it's so, I mean, I'll spoil it. My second favorite J. Cole track, '03 Adolescence. Like I feel like they're somewhat comparable in terms of that. So
I feel that.
Yeah, that kind of goes hand in hand there.
Again, I'm not gonna nitpick the song. A great song, but this is another one where I kind of have like questions about the perspective, because obviously most of it seems to be from James's perspective. The song is called Change, so you're going to change perspective as well as change in the world. But obviously he gets the line where he says, because James was slain, he was 22 later in like the fourth verse, a lot of verses of the song.
You got the news report.
Yeah, so it's very good, but then like the switch on where it goes from James to J. Cole, I feel like that's just like tougher to read into. Obviously, you have like instrumental breaks and stuff, so it kind of makes sense, but I feel a little bit like confused, I guess, for lack of a better word, at some points, and this is one of those points.
Yeah, and I mean, I use my favorite J. Cole song. I gotta throw my last little piece in
Got
there for being like a 5-minute track. Like, I mean, there's always something to keep you interested here. Like, there's different flows, everything like that. You know, like I said, the outro there. So, yeah, just an elite song.
Feels like a 3-minute song, which is really a good thing.
That is a good thing. I think there's another song that has that as well. We'll get into. Next track though, we got Neighbors. Like we were talking about earlier, this kind of felt like it could have been the hit at the time. I would say it was probably my favorite track when the album dropped. I loved Neighbors. Obviously, you get that forbidden fruit reversed on the instrumental, which we never knew that. I didn't, at least.
I didn't even know that till now.
Yeah, for years, I didn't know that. And then like he was doing a tour and he played Forbidden Fruit. Then they like reversed it into Neighbors. Reverse. And yeah, so that's very unique. You love that. But yeah, I think this is another one, obviously, where the perspective I question, because this is obviously from who? J. Cole. J. Cole. Yeah, J. Cole. So this to me feels a little bit out of place in the album. Great track, one of my favorites, but For Your Eyez Only, it doesn't necessarily fit to me as much, although it is great. It's crazy in that For Your Eyes documentary, there's the scenes of the FBI or whoever coming through and like busting doors down at the shelter. So it is pretty crazy that this is like a true story, but I love it. Love the, it's very descriptive. I think J. Cole always does a pretty good job of that, but he paints a picture like his friends outside smoking, and there's not nice cars, there's just some shit to get from back and forth, and that is like J. Cole to a T. He's just being a normal guy, but because he's black and he has friends and they're smoking weed outside, and they're thugs, yeah, they're in a nicer neighborhood ish, you know what I mean? Like,
they're selling
people's got an issue with it. They're selling drugs. They have to be. They can't be making an honest living, and whatever.
For it being like as light of a or not light, but it's more another one that's, I'd say, more rap focus, is not as deep as She's Mine or Change, songs like that. There's a really deep message behind it though. Like that is for, I mean, J. Cole at that point, especially house getting raided, all that shit. I mean, that's how it was, and then like, I mean, that's for how it's, stereotypes, I guess, would be like the biggest thing. Like,
Yeah, this was also a top 3 track for me. Definitely my favorite at the time when it came out. With it being a true story, like Johnny mentioned, it's pretty cool that he made that into a song.
Let's get in the next track here. We got Folding Clothes. I feel like this is one of the most like infamous tracks on the album. Like, people talk about Folding Clothes to this day, and really? Not always for the best reason. I feel like one of J. Cole's, more forgettable songs, but gets talked about for that reason. And I gotta say though, the instrumental, I remember hearing it for the first time and I was like, oh my God, this is so good. Steve Lacy, back when he was just making beats on his phone, producing for J. Cole, producing for Kendrick. I mean, what a crazy story. So I love it for that reason. I love the instrumental, but yeah, I think it's just a more, forgettable track.
This album's like pretty sporadic for being like for having like such a great concept and like telling it so well through some songs. Like this one, another one that feels just really out of place. Is like you said, a lot at the time, people were fucking going dummy on this song, like going in on it. But now, I mean, you listen to it, it's not a bad song. It doesn't really fit. So I'd say this is like really the outlier, I guess. I don't know. I'm wondering what you could, lyrics, but I don't know what Cole was trying to do here.
But I do think it makes sense for the theme of the album. Like, if it is about James' perspective, and throughout the album, he talks about what he's on, the person he is. And then this is kind of show him obviously change, make him want to be better because of the woman in his life.
Yeah.
He's folding clothes. So yeah, he's just wants almond milk.
And I think that the way the tracks are, the order they're in could have been different. It kind of flowed a little bit better. So I mean, that could have been one of the last couple tracks.
Yeah, has to be probably my least favorite, or very comparable. I like Steve Lacy a lot. However, I didn't know it was produced by him, but I didn't care for the beat actually.
Oh, I love it. I think it's nice.
This track was hard. It wasn't terrible. I remember not liking it a whole lot. Yeah, song was hard to listen to. He has the part in the background of like the first half of the song, and he goes, "Hey, hey." And every time I heard it, it became funnier and funnier, and I was just thankful that the second half of the song didn't have that in it. But yeah, he was way too descriptive of like, I'm taking the basket, now I'm going to the dryer and pulling the clothes out of the dryer.
Yeah.
The almond milk was
Watching
funny.
Netflix, catching up on our shows. Yeah.
But I appreciate that he was like, trying to be a better man for his pregnant wife and then whatnot. So that's great. I can appreciate that.
Yeah.
So at least it said I have a good place in heart.
Absolutely. Let's go to the next track though. We got She's Mine Part 2.
So I didn't ask this when we talked about part one. What were you guys rocking with, or did you have a preference? I was definitely team part two.
I think I
Overall,
would lean Part 2.
I think so too.
Okay.
But it's like they're
Not
Yeah, they're
much.
not that
neither
different though.
yeah, they're pretty similar, and neither of them are like the very, very top for me, but both very solid. I think it's a good track. The like Stand Out to Me was just like, if I remember, this was like when J. Cole fans were like, oh, he has a kid. Like, I don't think it was like known before that. And it also takes me back to like, this is like the era where some of my favorite rappers were like making songs about like fatherhood. Obviously, Chance like was becoming a dad, so he was talking about it, as well as Gambino. Like, this gives me very, very strong vibes of Baby Boy off of Awaken My Love, like just the perspective of a father speaking to their child and laying it out there.
Yeah, and it's a super real track. Like he's talking about checks bouncing, Christmas like it's very real in terms of that. And some people are in that situation. It kind of I think that's what J. Cole does best is like brings in that demographic, I guess.
Like relatable for people that aren't always rappers are talking about chains and
Yeah,
cars
yeah,
and whatever. He's
Rollies.
talking to the regular person.
Yep.
Well, he lived like that at one point, and
Yeah.
now that he's famous or has money, I mean, you can see that he hasn't forgotten where he's came from, forgotten that mentality, and still can relate to those people and help out. Like you were mentioning with I forget what it was called.
Documentary.
Yeah.
Let's get the final track here. We got For Your Eyez Only, the title track. This is the one. This is the best track on the album to me. It's such a good track, a long song that doesn't necessarily feel as long. You get a lot of verses. You get very, very clear verses from James, and then the J. Cole verse to tie it all together. This is where the perspective like makes sense the most to me, and it's just such a great track. Just the lyrical performance is amazing, and just like the way it ends up, like he's talking about all these things that James is, but he was a real one because he loved you. And I mean, that's just a great way to close the album and really tie it all together.
Yeah, this is one, I see a lot on, not a lot on Twitter, but every once in a while I'll see, or, what like best long songs ever, got Runaway up there, Prom King by Saba, but this is one that needs that mention. Like it really it does it. It's not changed to me. He says but definitely a top 3 track for me. And it's just like, it's what, like 8.5 minutes.
I think it's 9 something.
Okay, yeah, you're always not always interested, or like it keeps you locked in. Like it's so hard to have a track that long. It's so hard to have a 5-minute track and fucking keep the listener. And I mean, he does it well over 8-9 minutes. So
yeah, it's a little long for me, but I think it is a great closing track, and a lot of people don't even seem to attempt to close out their albums.
True.
It depends also on like what your music is about, I guess, or what but yeah, I mean, it's definitely something I appreciate. Good song, yeah. And I think I'll mention it here. One of the best parts about the album was I just played it on speaker on my iPhone, and it was just a really easy listen. I didn't need to go look at the lyrics. Obviously, it helps to go back and look, but I could just understand the whole album without going back, and I didn't have to go, what did he say, or etc.
Yeah, 100%. But yeah, obviously, it's a great closer to the project. For one of J. Cole's best projects, you say best.
yeah, it's like I said, it's so hard to compare. I feel like there's 2 clear top dogs. Obviously 2014, that's a classic. And I feel like this year, I mean, I don't know, it's all about perspective, I guess, but I would consider this near a classic. So I don't think I have like the public reception as much as 2014, but I think it's an overall better project. And yeah, I mean, you get some of his best tracks, Neighbors, phenomenal track, For Your Eyez Only, and then Change, of course, is his best track. So
yeah, for me, it's actually kind of really hard to rate his albums. And there's like 4 of them. I mean, there's definitely clear differences, but like I don't know. Yeah, it's a hard one for me. So this is in there. I don't know what I would rate it, but it's a good album for me, for sure. One thing I did want to touch upon, and I was going to wait, so I didn't say it on like 3 or 4 of the tracks that you were mentioning, was the perspective was confusing to understand, and that was like one thing I had. Now, if I probably really sat down with headphones on and listened more, maybe it'd be a little easier to understand. But yeah, that seemed like, and not everybody wants to sit down and really focus hyperly on.
Yeah.
And I think J. Cole's an easier to listen to anyways. But with that being said, still a great album. But that was definitely one of my bigger critiques.
Yeah, it's like I feel like it's so tough to do. Like, I mean,
The concept album?
yeah,
Yeah.
like Gambino, we just did that, and like I feel like that's hard to follow if you don't know. Like, I didn't
100%.
know a lot of the shit, and now so it's like I don't think J. Cole has like where he has it explained out, you're as thought out as Gambino does with because of the internet. So I mean, maybe one day.
Maybe. But yeah, I guess just my closing thought would be like diving back in this album after a pretty long minute that I had listened to the full album was just, it was refreshing. And watching the For Your Eyes Only documentary, I was just like, J. Cole, like that is one of the top dogs from this 2010s, one of the guys. And I don't want to say he's forgettable, but he's not in the public eye. So just getting back into him, it's been great. It's really been enjoyable.
This is one, this will be my final thoughts on For Your Eyes Only. This is one like every time I hear one track off it, I gotta listen to the rest of the album. Like it's so short, concise. It has a good flow to it and everything. Even though there's some tracks go in different directions, I guess, but I feel like it definitely would be the easiest J. Cole album to listen to just straight through, and it kind of makes the most sense. Kind of telling a story there. So.
Yeah, I feel that. Any other thoughts here from you?
No, that's it. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Of course, we'll have to get him on another time in the future. But when we originally started the podcast, it was right here at Elijah's. We were sitting right here, and we had a list of ideas and people we wanted to get on, and you were at the top of the list. So really appreciate you stopping by, having you on our first ever in-person sitting here together episode.
Yeah, it's like a double.
Exactly.
Too cool.
And the 2-year anniversary. I mean,
a lot going on.
A lot of love in this episode. So
for sure.
Appreciate you joining us.
Thank you guys.
Let's get into the news for this week. Pretty slow week, but we got a couple bigger releases we could talk about. We'll give our thoughts on those, as well as a couple other things that have been going on this week. To start, let's talk about the projects. We got Benny the Butcher, Lyrical Lemonade, and Isaiah Rashad with the Spotify 10-year for Sylvia Demo. And then we got singles from Russ, Tierra Whack, The Kid Laroi, Lucky, Montel Fish, Megan Thee Stallion, Summers, Casey Musgraves. Pretty solid week. We cannot complain about this, especially with 2 big albums.
Yeah, not a top week. I need to give Lyrical Lemonade, I need to give that a full listen through.
Okay.
I was on my Griselda shit, on the Butcher. He showed love to my boy LeBron the GOAT. So I had to pay my respects, and I'm getting a little more into all of it. I just texted him earlier about the Boldy James project. Oh man, that is tough. So, and then I like what Benny the Butcher did here, and obviously they're very active. So I'm made in the Griselda family eventually. So.
You are. Benny didn't drop this, or Boldy didn't drop this week, but I did bump his album with Nick Craven, and then I listened to Fair Exchange No Robbery again. And I mean, Boldy is just him. I mean, that's just, we know this now. But the Benny project, a pretty good listen. Like, I did enjoy it. I need to give it a little bit more love, but the song with West Side Gun and Conway on the same track, right? That was fire.
I kind of expected more from that.
Really? I thought it was good, but
it wasn't a bad track. Yeah, don't get me wrong. I wanted more West Side Gun. He was buried there in Costas, and I felt like he's kind of the same thing there.
Fair.
Obviously, legend though.
Yeah. But other than that, good track. A lot of strong features throughout it. Obviously, you see some huge names: Lil Wayne, Snoop, Jadakiss, Babyface Ray, one of your guys from the Stoke God, of course. There. So very good project. Definitely recommend that. But the Lyrical Lemonade one, that was like, it's a good listen. I said this earlier a couple weeks ago, but I knew it was going to be one of the most just interesting first listens, because you're getting so many different people. And I think there are some tracks that obviously are standouts above the rest. I really enjoyed Say Your Grace with Chief Keef and Lil Yachty. I did not expect to like this one, but I liked This My Life with Lil Tecca, Leroy, and Skies. I like that one.
That's like a fucking senior year of high, or Leroy was COVID. That was a little bit after, I guess.
Uh-huh.
But like Tekka and Little Skies, like that was like junior, senior
Different.
year, fucking just running shit. So
Yeah, so I was not expecting to love that one as much as I do, but I like that. But yeah, it was a cool project. The one with Amine, Sway Lee, and Lotto was cool. I also really liked Fly Away. Obviously, you get Sheck West like right off rip, and I'm like, oh my god, like I for whatever reason kind of overlooked him on the track list. So hearing him, I was like, okay, I like this. I'm glad we get Sheck West with Ski Mask, of course. So great track there. Definitely recommend that. Got something for everybody. So give it a
I
listen.
mean, just to show some love to Sheck West, like I feel like anything he's on, he's like
He does.
he's there. He sets the fucking tone.
Mhm.
Yeah, he needs to drop more. Whatever.
Yeah, it's
Like I
for
don't
an
get it.
effort.
Like I think he's got a lot of potential. He's obviously got Mo Bamba shit like that, but
Mhm.
I feel like there's a lot of untapped potential there.
There is. He does what he does very well. So we need more of that.
It's not in the news, but the Megan the Stallion and Nicki Minaj fucking
Like a little beef, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
that Nicki Minaj, that little snippet she put in her live, that was fire.
I haven't heard it, but I saw there was a little beef on Twitter, so I'll have to look into that. Obviously, I got to show a little bit of love to Lucky. I mean, when Tune drops, I'm a listen. So we got a little 2-pack from Lucky.
This tune right here.
Yeah, yeah. So that was hard. I like that. Two very, very different tracks stylistically. I mean, one like he's rapping on Detroit beat, and that one like more melodic. So cool to get that from Lucky. Detroit. We got to give our mention for the episode. So almost went a whole episode without the Detroit shout out, but had to rock with it. Be prepared for more of those coming this year. Let's talk about two pieces of news here, kind of related to live shows. The first one, Coachella ticket sales reportedly the slowest in years. I don't think we talked about the lineup too much on the pod, if at all. But obviously, the headliners you got Doja Cat, Lana Del Rey, and Tyler the Creator, which I think are very, very good, but they're all kind of catered to the same demographic age wise. Whereas in the past, you get like a legacy rock headliner, a rap star, and then maybe something more pop. And this year, it's kind of all similar-ish.
Yeah, I can't really put that even into a genre specifically, but I get what you're saying. It's kind of the same demographic there, whatever. I feel like there is a lot more festivals just out there nowadays. Obviously I'm a Rolling Loud boy. And then they got Summer Smash. So I mean, I feel like they could be just losing a lot of those people that are just saying, why would I go to Coachella, California?
$600. It's pretty. I think it's pretty expensive. It's like in a desert. People like get sick. Like it just doesn't seem like the most pleasant festival experience. Although it is very iconic and like I would go in the future. But I'm excited to see how these other festival lineups look. Lollapalooza and stuff coming here probably in the next month or two. So we'll see.
Yeah, we didn't do it for Coachella, but we gotta like have that in the notes, so we'll be on it because
We got you, especially for like Lolla, because you guys could maybe want to go to that more likely than Coachella. And the last news for the week, Andre 3000 tour has been announced. This is crazy. I never thought you would have a chance to go see Andre in person, although I would be shocked if he's gonna, say any words in the concert. He's gonna be playing. It's going to be cool. I think that'd be a very, very cool album to hear live. I feel like it'd make you really appreciate it more, especially one of the places. I forget the exact name of it. It's like Garfield something in Chicago, but it's like it got a lot environment. It's got plants and stuff. Like that would be a dope environment to hear the project. I don't know if that's like where the concert's going to be at, but even just like walking through there, kind of getting in the vibe, and then hearing the project will be very cool. So I don't think I'm even making the trip, but
never know.
It would be very cool to see Andre in the flesh.
Yeah, that's like that's a legend, my first year at Rolling Loud, like one of my favorite people I've ever seen is 50 Cent. Like when was so it's not 50 Cent's not someone I would go out of my way for a tour, but Andre, that's I feel like a different level almost, but those people, those experiences, like they're just
unmatched. But yeah, that's going to do it for this week's episode. Appreciate you guys so much for tuning in. Thank you for rocking with us for 2 years. We kind of said that last week as well, but celebrating it again, going into year 3, going to make it the best year yet. Obviously, first in-person episode, trying to do that, trying some different things out. Merch, we've been talking about that. Will be coming soon, promise. You can hold me to that. We will have something soon. And yeah, we'll see you guys next week for our Grammys episode. It's coming out the day after the Grammys, but we'll be talking about who we think should win. And then the following week, we can kind of dive into what actually happened.
Yeah, I love the Grammys episodes. It's a cool one. So I mean, maybe one day they slide the job offer, get us on the board. So
Gotcha. So we'll see you guys next week. Peace.